Okay, so quick summary, a little bit about me. I'm born and bred in Dundee. I lived here until I was about 18, then I moved to St Andrews. I worked at the Old Course, that was my very first job, as a housekeeper. Then I worked in David Russell Hall as a domestic bursar. And then I moved to Edinburgh and I worked at Jenner's as a restaurant manager. And then I moved to Glasgow and I worked for Albany Hotels. And then I moved back to Edinburgh, where I worked at Nimmo's, which was a restaurant in Shanwick Place. And then I moved down to London. And so for 17 years, I was in the hospitality and leisure industry, rife with conflict. And while I was in London, in '96, I got the job as general manager of The Sanctuary, which is a day spa for women in Covent Garden. You may or may not have heard of it. While I was there, I had the opportunity to study NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Anybody know what that is? Yeah? So just for a second, if you just fold your arms for a moment, and this is possibly the way that you would normally do it if you were sitting watching telly or whatever. Now unfold them and fold them the other way. And just notice how easy is that for you to do? Do you get caught up in just doing one easier than the other one? Do you have to stop and think, oh, actually, how do I do that? So NLP is really about understanding your nervous system, your neurology, the linguistics, the words, the pictures that you're making, but also the patterns and the programs that as human beings we get into. Some of us call them habits. And we have some good habits that help us through our day, but we also have some unhelpful habits at times. And we tend to get into possibly some unhelpful habits, especially at work with certain people when it comes to conflict. So today's talk is really about helping raise your awareness to what conflict style might you use with certain people that's not working. And in order to just realize, where am I getting stuck and actually just defaulting to the one that's just the one I always do, it may not be the one that actually works, and how can you do something else? And it's for you to choose what that something else is. I'm not saying that this is better than that, but it's just looking at what am I currently doing that I might be stuck in that I'm not really aware of right now. So back in London, working at the Sanctuary, studying NLP. Then in 2001, I decided to set up my own business. So as well as I'm now a trainer of NLP and an NLP coach, I also use all sorts of different psychometrics like Myers-Briggs, Thomas Kuhlman, which is this one, Firaby, Hogan, DISC, Berkman, you name it, the chances are I've done it. I love psychometric tools. I think they're a really helpful way of just helping us gain some insight into ourselves. And more importantly, other people. Because if we really want to be effective at communicating, it's about trying to understand and connect with other people. And by understanding more about yourself and more of how other people operate, it can help us communicate more effectively. So these days, I also work with Steve Redgrave. His company is called Personal Best. I'm an associate with Steve and a couple of other people. So Bill on the left here, the older chap. He's an Olympic coach. He coaches Alan Campbell, who won a bronze last year at the Olympics, and Katherine Grainger, which you might know, won her gold. Yay! So the company's called Personal Best because as Steve's motto is, not everyone can win a gold medal, but we can all achieve our personal best. And so we work helping businesses take that Olympic mindset into business of how can we get the best out of the people who work there. I also work for another company called Coach Source. I coach Google's one of the companies that I coach in. And as well as working for them as an associate, I have my own business. So I work for very, very large corporate organizations, and I also work with small independent organizations. Whether that's just 5 or 6 people in the company or 5 or 10,000 or 5 or 10 million. That's what I've been doing for the last 13 years.